and welcome. My name is Michał Szczepanik, and I will be talking about clean architecture on Android. If someone expects any code here and samples of the code, there will be no samples, because when I try to do some really basic application in clean code way, it looks more funny than provide some values. So I prefer to show you some concept and show how you should think about the applications to make it more easily to maintain in the clean architecture way. So as I mentioned, my name is Michael. I am programmer and Android developer. I am also organizer of something which is called Mid-Mobile. Mid-Mobile is our meetings in Wrocław, Szczecin, and Lublin. So if someone of you is from this city or will be there, please check the Mid-Mobile's meetings. Maybe will be something interesting for you there. I work for Bellstream in Wrocław and work on projects for good powered by BlackBerry, quite soon BlackBerry. And I'm working on something which is called collaboration suites, so group of the applications which allow big companies to use emails, calendars, and stuff like that on private phones. In the work basis. So for the work basis. So the biggest problem which I saw around 2.5 years ago when I come to this project was that the project is quite big, because this is around 2 million lines of code, and some of this code was really old, so around 10 years old, and really difficult to maintain. This and also some other applications which I saw during my life as an Android consultant show some specific of Android applications, even each mobile's applications. Generally, the concept of architecture for mobile apps is rather focused on platform than on something what you want to do. So when you have some design in mind, you have let's look as our program is a building. We have designed up to first floor. After that, we don't know what will be. We even don't know how many floors we will have there. So this goes that when we add something or build the next floor, sometimes we discover that something doesn't work in a way how we would like to be. So we have issues. We have architecture which we don't understand, and at some point we have code which is really difficult to maintain. After around 1 year of application lifecycle, we spend more time on bug fixing than delivering new features. So you can see in Google Play quite often that what's new? Bug fixing, nothing more. When we plan to add something new which will connect a few floors with each other, during validation or in worst way after that, we discover that something doesn't work. And our testers, we and our users do big eye and don't know what we should do. After around 1 year, when we have quite big application, we discover first law of software quality. So the error depends on numbers of code. In case of Android, the problem is, I think, the platform and the samplers which we see for it. most of samples looks like that, are small, easy to write, easy to rev write, and easy to maintain. So we do something small applications like Torch or something like that, and that's all. And each samples from Google is quite small, also. And this is I think the main our core base. So knowledge base. When we want to build something bigger, the problem is quite huge, because we need to plan good architecture for our application at the beginning. And I think most of you know this guy. This is Uncle Bob, the author of Clean Code books, etc. So he also writes some articles about clean architecture, which I mentioned here, and say something really important, that architecture is about intents, not frameworks. What does this mean? It means that we shouldn't focus when we start the project on frameworks which we will use, but what our application will do. And this is the most important case for us. So our goals is to think about clear use cases first. Think about how we will maintain this application, so how the application will look after 1 or 2 years, and how we can easily test them and fast test them. Because if our test takes more than 1 minute, we go to the coffee, and during the coffee someone asks us to go to play, for example, on PlayStation, and the testings which run 1 minute in real takes around 20 minutes, because we back after 20 minutes. So if your tests run more than few seconds, it's a problem. The main problem of teams, which I saw, is that when someone tries to start new application and developing something new, first think about frameworks. I heard about quite nice library. Let's use it in this project. We even don't know if we will need it, but let's use it. In first step, we should focus about the language which we want to use and some basic tools, not about whole frameworks, because after this first step, I saw many times that application after 2 weeks have nothing related to requirements, but around 20 libraries in it. I don't know why. I don't know for what reasons, but it looks like that. The architect role in the project is the role to delay all decisions related to frameworks, libraries, and stuff we want to use to the endpoint when we need to decide about it, not make decisions at the beginning. In one of our projects, customer asked about, please provide the list of libraries, tools, and stuff like that, which we will use in our project. Okay, but we don't know about what this project is in real. We have one page of documentation, and this was all from the customer. So we deliver 0 page about the tools. Based on that, architect delay every decisions, which is important for the project to the endpoint when he must decide. Not, I can decide now, but I must decide now. Team role is to clearly understand the use cases which we want to implement, and understand the concept of the architecture. Because if one team member do something in his way, sometimes it causes more problem than solutions. So let's meet together and discuss about sometimes about solutions. in cases when you do some big applications or you have a really big team, this point is really, really important. So let's back to the architecture. This is something which was created by Uncle Bob in one of the articles. He designed few rings which explain the concept of clean architecture. In the center we have entities. After that we have use cases. Here we have presenters, controllers, so interfaces and adapters, and the frameworks are totally outside of our business logic. And if you look at the flows go to the entities, not from the entities. So when I create some entity, this entity shouldn't know that somewhere here is Android. Shouldn't also know how the UI looks, or what will be used as the storage. It will be DB, or it will be file, or it will be some cloud. This is not a goal of software which can be easy maintain and test. So entities are the business object of our application, and the more important objects for us. We can easily test them because here we have some basic truths and stuff like that. In case of use cases, we have flow of our data in the application. So here we write our code mostly, and this should be totally independent of the rest of the world. After that, we have next ring, which is interfaces and interface adapters. So this part convert data from the format from the format and to format which is convenient for the use cases and entities. And at least we have frameworks and drivers, so stuff which we want to use. Here we set the UI, here we set the tools, here we set all of our frameworks. So this is the part which we get from outside. Here we put also libraries. And as I mentioned at some point, the most important is the flow here. So when we have entities, we can test only entities, not focus on use cases. In case of Android world, this picture shows us how the app architecture looks from Android perspective. So we have whole stuff related to Android. We have activities here. We have fragments. We have some settings, content providers, databases, services for background operations. But how it's important from business logic of our application? Of course, if our application is really connected with Android, because this is some util application for Android user, this will be hard connected with Android. But in case of business logic, for example, even social logic, when we think about Twitter or Facebook, we shouldn't think about Android application when we will design something like that. We should think about the social features which this application should provide to the user. So when someone when we want to check our contacts or friends in these types of system, we shouldn't think about from where we will get this, from where we will get them. It's not important for us from business logic if this will be databases file or some web. When we designed whole flow of the business logic of our contacts, so and stuff what we want, what we can do with them. In case of the architecture which we should think about it, we have picture like here. So here is a presentation layer, so something what users see. Here is Android. Here is our business logic layer. So all use cases goes here, and here we define logic of our applications, and around 80% of the code should be here. Entities, the basic objects which we need to work in our application. So for example, we have contact, so we put objects which is called contact, and contact has name, surname, email address, phone number, whatever. And data layer, so the place from where we will get the data to our application. Domain layer, so the most important part for us as a developers is application store the application business rules, all use cases, and is totally Android independent. So here we put the interactors implementation. We use the objects which we defined here, and most of the test cases should go here. As we are totally independent from the Android, we can use standard JUnit to test this logic. What this mean for us? That tests run on our local machine. We don't need to set anything in Android on Android device, and they goes faster. We can use Mockito or any other tool to create the mocks, stubs, fakes, etc. But generally, most of the test goes here, and most of our logic is here. So we can test around 80% of run 80% of our tests fast. For example, what we can test when we start testing from UI, which is I don't know, some trend right now to create many tools to test UI. And we want to test, for example, that user log into our application. So what user need to do? Put some name, put some password, and he's logged in. And each case, in each case, when we will try to test logic, for example, correct password, wrong password, old password, we need to go through the logic. Also, each time when we want to do something under when user need to be logged in, we need to go through this path. So this path will be tested around 1,000 times because each test needs user to be logged in. This no makes sense. So when we put some logics here, we don't need this step, and we test each path of the code, which is really important for us. Next layer is the layer related to entities. So basic minimal business objects goes here. We have some standard Java or any other language which use object structure, low-level rules, some general truths, totally Android independent, totally framework independent. So what we can do? Test for business objects without any mocks, because we work on the basic objects here. Let's go to something which is mostly problematic, and many people spend time and put whole code here. So many times when someone asks me to take some existing application to put some to provide some features there, I saw one thing. whole logic is in the activity. Command activity is for views, not for logic. So if you should focus on that in fragments and in the activity, you should only focus about the views, Android lifecycle of these objects, and stuff like that. No, and not focus on business logic. So here we put our code related to the lifecycle of the application. Here we can do MVP pattern, MVC, MVVM pattern to control that. About MVVM will be in the next presentation, so I totally skip this in mine. And here we are strongly connected with Android, we're strongly connected with all frameworks which we want to use. So as I mentioned, we have integration tests here, so few tests which we need to which we need. Some basic paths, so normal use cases for the users. So any critical paths shouldn't be tested here if you don't need it or don't or didn't have any issues. When good pattern is that if some of users report issue to you, you should also you should create the test for that to not provide this issue again. We can use Robotium, Express, or Roboelectric here to make testing faster. So generally Android is here. And data layer. Here we deliver data which is needed by applications. So we have some cache services usually. And if we design with repository pattern, we can focus on delivering data, and the place from which we delivering depends on us, and we can easily switch from one to another if we implement it in correct way. For example, we don't have internet, we can use disk and cache memory. When we have internet, we can go directly to cloud or do cache. For example, we back to the applications, we can use cached data from the memory. If we don't have enough data, we go to the disk. If we need more, we go to the cloud. So generally quite easy part to use. Also, we should use JUnit plus Mockito. Here, Roboelectric in case when we use the database or any other tool. So generally, the tools which we should use when we want to easy test the application first is dependency injections. I think most of you knows what is dependency injection. So we have one interface, and we can connect different solutions for it to do some work in different ways. So for example, at one point during testing, we can put some local implementation of some storage. In real Android, we use database on Android. So it really helps to test our application in an easy way. I also heard some maybe myths, maybe truths about that clean code and clean architecture is not optimized for app. We have tools like Progward, which, as was mentioned, is not only tool to obfuscate your application, but is also tool which shrink, so remove unused code, and is a tool which optimize your code. So you can easily use enums if you want in your application, and they will be switched to something which is better for Android, which is integer implementations of each enum in it. What else? During creating the clean architecture, we create many methods, small methods, and sometimes it is problematic. We can get 64K issue, but also small methods sometimes are not the best in case of optimization. So we can easily inline it using ProgWord. Sometimes it's caused that debugging is frustrating if you don't have a good configuration for it. As I know, one of the latest ProgWords support it really well, so you can easily use the inlines optimizations right now. What else? You have many others stuff to optimize here. If you work, the problem is when you work on calendar or stuff like that, and you run arithmetical optimizations. Don't do this because these can cause many issues. So this is only the case when some optimizations should be turned off. The optimizations feature of ProgWord is really easy to control, so you can set optimizations almost for each part, each type of code which you have. So generally, the clean architecture helps you to maintain big applications, helps you to test it, and helps in many others stuff. And the problem of small apps, which I mentioned at the beginning, to not show the real code, is that when I will show you some sample app, which, for example, only displays some list of I don't know, show some shopping cart or contacts. This will be really funny because I generate much more code that is really needed here. But when you have applications, which for which developing takes more than half of the year, the clean architecture way is really good because it allows you to easily refactor, easily switch to new environment. How many times the UI change for each mobile platform, and it causes issue that many applications need to be rewrite because some UI patterns totally change, or they totally change the UX guy in the team, and this cause issue because almost whole logic was in the UI and not in the place which is really needed. So that's all from my side. I think during today and tomorrow we will have more presentations about quality and maybe more details how to build clean code use clean code in application, and also some clean architectures here. So if someone is interested about MVVM, which I mentioned in the presentation description, the next presentation will be mostly about that. So thank you, and if you have questions.